Uganda is doing well. And how you determine how good any country is in research is how much that country is able to solve the problems that the ordinary farmers are facing.
Okay.
For example, if the problem is disease, how capable is our research organization now in developing crop varieties that are resistant to given diseases? So the problem can be disease, the problem can be weather, can be about drought, the problem can be at any stage in the value chain. You know, agriculture is a whole chain. It starts with research. It comes to selecting what to grow, the so-called enterprise selection. It comes to preparing to grow, looking after what you are growing, then later on harvesting it, then later on processing it, and later on marketing it. So along that chain, our farmers face a lot of problems.
Different, various.
Now the role of research, agricultural research,
is mainly to come up with solutions.
Is to come up with solutions to those problems along the chain.
How are you nurturing
yes,
their capacity as the researchers in this country to enable them succeed?
We are doing it in many ways, but one of them is training. We have so many PhDs. So many PhDs. You go to Serere, you'll find PhDs. You go to Lira, you'll find PhDs. You go wherever we have a branch of narrow, you'll find PhDs. So training is one of them, and actually it's the main one. But also orientating them, because you may get a PhD, but you may not appreciate the problems of the farmer.
Thank you so much, Honorable.
Yes.
Dr. Kasaija, I'll strategically come back to you. What are the challenges of research as an aspect of agriculture? Briefly, in the interest of time, especially in our scope as Uganda.
Once again, thank you. Research indeed faces a good amount of challenges. Briefly, one of them being infrastructure.
Okay.
Yes, the government has done a lot, has given us a lot of infrastructure, but every other day, new problems, new issues, new challenges are coming up. And as they come up, they require also new and modern infrastructure, which may not be availed, at the same speed.
New problems send you to new research.
Exactly, yes. And that new research requires new facilities. And the new facilities may not be availed at the same rate as the challenges do come up.
Understand.
So that is one of them.
Okay.
The other one is, again, the capacity is talked about. The ministry and the government has assisted capacity in terms of human capacity, in terms of competence to come up. But again, like I've said, the issues to handle are too many for even I would say the many human resources around. So we always need more and more. But of course there's a challenge of enabling recruitment to go at the same speed, as the challenges also that require to be addressed. So that we need a little bit more of competent human resource. So competent means this: you recruit and you train and retrain and you orient continuously.
Okay.
So that continuous one is a bit
Doctor from Tari.
Yes.
East Africa as a region, food security is one of our problems. Am I right?
Yes, you are.
With you technical people, the minister is talking about PhDs, a lot of them only in Uganda.
Yes.
That means in the whole of East Africa, it is a multitude of your colleagues.
Yes.
We have you and we are proud. Why would we again suffer things like food insecurity?
Yeah.
How can research be, what role can research play in solving that problem?
Yes, in the region, Honorable Minister has already said, you know, what is important here is productivity. You talk of productivity. If you look at agriculture in general, one of the problems we have is low productivity.
Is there a relationship between research
yes.
and productivity levels?
Yes. Now, this low productivity is attributable to so many factors. Honorable Minister has said some. So one is drought. Yeah. Two is talking about diseases and insect pests. And there are a number of them. Some are related to infrastructure and so on. So now, we as a region, we are really struggling to ensure that we increase productivity. Now, how do we go about it? So we talk, for example, of genetic improvement. Talk of cassava. Most of the time I want to give an example of cassava in Uganda, so that it will be easier to understand. Now in Uganda, for example, when you talk of cassava, the famous crop in Uganda, it faces a number of biotic stresses. One is cassava mosaic disease. This one can reduce yield up to 100%, especially for farmers who are using the disease susceptible varieties. And there's also another disease called cassava brown streak disease. It has also hit Uganda and also some countries like Tanzania and Kenya, even other countries in the region. Now, what we are doing basically here, Uganda is a center of excellence, is trying to develop improved varieties with disease resistance and also high yield. So if you look at the output that we have already in the region, if you go Nakri there, you identify a number of varieties which have already been bred. Now what is left basically is to multiply these varieties and distribute within the country itself here in Uganda, but in the region as a whole. So you can imagine that Uganda has actually developed some varieties and increased the productivity, sometimes 3 to 4 times. From 80 tons per hectare of fresh roots, now you talk about 40. There are some varieties even up to 40 tons. So what is required now is to do massive multiplication and distribution. Now this is just an example in cassava. We also have a similar situation in some other crops as well. Even in banana, you know, the matoke again in Uganda. We also have a number of biotic constraints. The sigatoka, for example, is also a problem. The wheat, and many other diseases. So we are struggling in the region to share all these technologies so that instead of farmers using varieties with low productivity, they can use the improved ones. In this way, we can solve this food insecurity. So some are even tolerant to drought, just to mention, and some also, you know, we have bred them. The nutrition, for example, nutrition is important. For example, high protein is also very, very important in most of varieties that
let me get the view of the executive director here. Asereca is covering a number of countries. It's not only the East African region, but all the countries that you mentioned, many of them, they fall in this category where food insecurity is among the main problems. I heard of Ethiopia, as you mentioned, Djibouti, a number of them, at least they have been mentioned by the UN and those other international organizations when it comes to food insecurity. So what is the organization doing in promoting research? Are you promoting research to solve problems like the technical people say, or it is just research?
Thank you so much.
Research that can't handle this particular problem.
Very good. We promote what we call action research. And action research is that research whose results lead to a change. So what do? We make sure that we bring in, number one, scientists. All the scientists that my colleagues have mentioned, we bring them together on the same table, such that all the cassava scientists, we bring them from Kenya, from Tanzania, from Congo, we bring them on the table. But not to just discuss alone. We bring the farmers. Because we have farmer representatives in each of the countries.
Yes.
Like in Uganda, we have so many farmers, and they are in clusters, they are in groups. So we have selected group leaders of these farmers who go up to the last mile. So we bring them also on the table to discuss with these researchers. They tell the researchers that this variety you gave us, which you feel is so good, is not working on our field. So we want you to even accompany us to our field. It may have yielded more in your laboratory, but this is the field now where the environment is different from your station. So we make sure that we create that environment where scientists meet with the farmers, not only in the field, but we also make sure the farmers need to increase their productivity, like they're saying, but without market, it becomes useless. So as Asereca, we make sure that we also create a platform for these farmers to access market where a Ugandan farmer should have access to a Kenyan market to sell the cassava, to sell the matoke, without having border problems. So that when the farmer in Uganda moves beyond Busia border, Umbalaba border, we need to make sure that the Kenyan government, through the Minister of Agriculture in Kenya, has linked up with the Ugandan minister, and so the cross-border becomes easier for the movement of these goods and services. We make sure that the private sector works very closely with not only the researchers, but also the farmers, because the private sector can be the propagators, they can be the distributors of the seeds that they are talking about. So we make sure that the farmer tells the scientist the problem. The scientist also links up with the farmer links up with the private sector, but we also bring together even the Bureau of Standards. We have brought them together so that they sort out even the cross-border problems for the ease of trade. So we do a lot of multi-stakeholder engagement, and it is working.
Let me bring in our boss now.
Yes.
The Honorable Minister.
Yes.
Now, you had the challenges of research in Uganda. The problems run faster than research. That is if I understood Dr. Kasaija well. But Dr. from Tari gives hope about how research now can still run to catch up with the problems. You get?
Yes.
Again, we all agree that we still have the problem of food insecurity in the region. As the government of Uganda, how are you handling this situation to help research curb the problem of food insecurity? We would be asking the government in Kenya and Tanzania and wherever, but at least we have the government of Uganda in the few minutes we have before we go to the issue of the conference.
Yeah, thank you very much. Now, you know, as government, we are mainly interested in how many of these solutions developed by the researchers are actually going to the population.
How do they trickle down?
Yeah, you know, there are so many solutions, so many varieties of crops, so many products of research, various. I was looking at the book that contains all the outcomes of the research of the National Agricultural Research Organization, NARO. They're in hundreds. But some of them, when you go to the population, they've not trickled down. So as government, we are interested in ensuring that whatever solution is that NARO is generating, whatever solution is that are being generated by Asereca, as a joint effort of the 14 countries, actually trickle down to the ground. Because you just said it. You asked, you said, are you doing research just for the sake of research? The answer is no. The research is aimed at solving a problem. Okay. And once you generate the solution, that solution must be taken to the people. Technology transfer. And that's where we come in. Because these people don't do extension services. Extension services
comes back to you.
Come back to government.
Yes.
Central government and also the local government. So I think, to me, that is the core of it.
Okay.
That's the core of it. And as long as the extension services are taking the solutions generated by the researchers to the population, then I'm confident that we shall be able to develop resilient food systems that can feed Uganda, that can feed the East and Central Africa, that can feed the
continent and the world.
And even the world.
Honorable, you will come in last. I just want a comment from the technical people now. Dr. Kasaija,
yes, please.
What do you think can boost agriculture research here in Uganda?
Well, there is a lot.
Yes.
I don't know how to
just
enumerate
mention
it.
at least in half a minute or a minute.
Okay. Number one is, of course, an adequate budget.
Okay. The minister has had.
Yes. Adequate budget.
Yes.
To indeed make sure actually that what is planned to solve especially key issues is available and they can be, it can be used to do that.
Okay.
Number two is cooperation from the other stakeholders.
Okay.
When I talk of cooperation, we don't work alone. We work with, like I think the ED mentioned some time back, we don't think of a number and put it there. As here we identify, and when we are trying to bring those solutions, we work with the farmers, we work with the processors, we work with the entire chain.
Okay.
But sometimes you find that some people will still want to, they will say, no, what you're bringing, it will not work, even before testing it. But my grandmother or my mother used to do it like this, and it worked. But they would forget or they don't see that things have changed. That time there was no climate change. Now it is there. So cooperation from the stakeholders that we work with and work for.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Dr. Mkamilo, yes. What do you think should be done? In just a second.
Honorable Minister has said already, extension services.
Okay.
You have technologies from research center. These technologies have to go down there to a smallholder farmer to be able to adopt and then increase production and productivity. So extension services is one. Two, infrastructure.
Okay.
So these days, basically, when you do research, you need some minimum infrastructure requirement. Can be irrigation infrastructure, can be laboratory infrastructure.
To facilitate whatever
knowledge. To facilitate whatever you want to do, the infrastructure is key for research and the development.
We thank you so much, Doctor.
Yes.
Yes, I'll come to you, the ED.
Yes.
In a bigger picture now of Asereca that looks at so many countries, what do you think can boost research in these countries where you operate as Asereca?
Number one.
We have a minute.
Number one.
And you're sharing it with the minister.
Number one, resources.
Yes.
Because Asereca, we rely on the membership contribution from the countries, but we also get some money from the donors. And so that becomes like a catalyst, just a small seed that we are planting in the country.
Okay.
And once we have planted it, we expect that the governments can also add on to that. And when they do that, the donors will see that the governments are working closely with the association that they formed. And so they can add more money, not only to us as Asereca to continue working,
to the individual
but to the individual governments. That's number one. Number two, creating a platform what we call an innovation platform that brings, like in the conference we are going to have, bringing together many farmers where they can learn new technologies, what has worked. They may have a technology, but they have not known that it can work in a certain way. So when they see what others have done with that technology, they are able to learn. They carry the knowledge home.
Thank
so
you
that
so
is
much,
very
Doctor.
important. Yes.
Honorable Minister, we're winding up with you.
Yes.
Give us a picture of the conference, because your ministry is the host.
Yes.
Give us a picture of the conference, where it's going to be, and is it for ministers or even people like me are welcome?
Yes. The conference is going to be held in Munyonyo Speak Resort. It is starting on 17th and ending on 19th. Uganda is not only the host, but Uganda is also the chair of Asereca, the current chair. We are going to have the General Assembly. The General Assembly is a meeting for all stakeholders, farmers, development partners, NGOs, the population, government. So this is a General Assembly. You are invited. All Ugandans out there, you are invited to come because you are a stakeholder.
Okay.
And then we have the Council of Patron Ministers. So the ministers from the 14 countries are going to have their own meeting to take decisions and to get what they'll take home to their respective governments. So in summary, that's what it is.
So it's going to be in Munyonyo from when to when?
From tomorrow, actually.
17th
up to Friday.
2019.
And by the way, there is also an exhibition. There is a big exhibition showing what Uganda produces, what Tanzania, what other members produce. Yeah, so there is an exhibition, and the entire population is free to come and
share a little of what is going to be discussed here. Yes, the editor said,
yes,
but as part of the hosting body, what is going to be part of the agenda?
As part of the agenda,
because I'm imagining me, an ordinary man from Chiboga, and sitting with ministers in the same conference.
You know, there are some common problems.
Yes.
You know, what we had COVID, we have the conflict in Russia and Ukraine. We have challenges of climate change. Many of these are going to feature in this meeting.
On how they have affected.
On how we are going to develop resilient structures to overcome such situations in the future.
We thank you so much, Honorable, and for the time and all that we have shared.
Thank you.
You said, you talked of what we are going to be, what is going to be discussed in the conference, mainly including the wars and what have
the
you.
effects of those problems onto agriculture and how we can develop resilience.
Okay, the two technocrats mentioned budget. Dr. Kashaija mentioned it.
Yes.
And Dr. from Tari mentioned it.
Even the ED
mentioned it.
Yes.
So nobody can tell us. You represent all the governments here now.
Yes.
Why are you people not looking into this? Uganda is, the parliament today, we're in the house almost the whole day.
Yeah.
How much can we be given for this particular problem? Food insecurity is mentioned almost every day, everywhere. If all the researchers need is money.
It's not all that they need. Of course, they've already mentioned that we need the human resource.
Okay.
We need the infrastructure.
The human resource will need a salary, allowance, money.
Yes, we need infrastructure.
To put them
also
up,
we need a system to take the solutions to the people. Extension services.
Money.
So everything is money. Now, Asereca being a member organization, the main source of money are the member countries, the contribution from the member countries.
Okay.
So we shall also call upon the member countries to make good of what they are supposed to contribute to Asereca. But at the same time, of course, we have to use the capacity, the human resource capacity from the 14 countries to write very good proposals that can be funded by the various interested parties.
Okay.
Yeah, so those are the main two sources of finance for Asereca.
We thank you so much.
Yeah.
His name is the Honorable Fred Bwino Chakulaga, State Minister for Agriculture here in Uganda. On the extreme right is Dr. Imelda Kashaija. She's the former Deputy Director General of NARO. Doctor, I said it right this time. And she's also a senior researcher. She was here with us. Then here next to me is Dr. Enoch Warinda. He's the Executive Director of Asereca. That is the Association for Strengthening Agricultural Research in the Eastern and Central Africa. Doctor, which country do you come from?
Nimetoka Kenya.
Oh, you're just from here.
From
the backyard.
From the backyard.
You're most welcome. Then in blue is Dr. Geoffrey Camilo. He's the Director General of Tanzania Agriculture Research Institute. That is the equivalent of NARO. So if you had us say the NARO of Tanzania, that is what.
But he's also the chairperson of the board of governors.
Wow.
The board of directors of Asereca.
Okay, it is actually here. He's the chair board of directors of Asereca.
Yes.
Doctor, we thank you so much for all you do, and we welcome you.
My pleasure.
We thank you so much for watching. My name is Michael Jordan Lukomwa. I was here with Margaret and the whole team to ensure that we give you this special discussion as Uganda prepares to host all these other member states that will be here from tomorrow. Actually, they are already here. Doctor is here, and others. So they will be here for the conference up to Friday. There's an exhibition, discussions and deliberations. Please do not miss. The Prince Edward Rukidi Kijanangomba is ready with the news, and I would love to hand over to him so that he takes us to watch what has happened near and far. To you, Edward.
Thank you so much, Jordan, for that